Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. So today on my Friday, Floral Friday, we're going to be painting very loose, fast, quick watercolor floral in a vase using basically a flat wash brush and a little bit of oval brush. I intended on using both brushes, but I mostly used this flat wash brush. Yep, a 1-inch simple, cheap flat wash brush can create this whole entire painting. As you'll see in the demo, I go over how to do the wash in the background, and I'm using hot press paper, not cold press paper. It creates a different kind of look, more hard edges, which I love, and all that stuff. And I just talk about the techniques I use, twisting the brush, moving the brush around to create the soft flowers, and I throw in a little white gouache. That's the trick. Now you can see me demonstrate it, how you get that beautiful white part of the rose there on the painting. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Really, all you need is watercolor and 1 tube of white gouache, and you can create some beautiful flowers. It's just amazing what you can do with that. So if you have any questions about loose flowers, leave a comment below. Also check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials, and a live stream on the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel. I also give first dibs on watercolor workshops and retreats. And actually, I'll be announcing one on Monday. So if you're a Patreon member, look for that in your inbox or on the Patreon page. So yes, let's get painting a simple watercolor floral with a 1-inch flat wash brush. And let's have some fun. All right, so I'll go with my supplies. I'm using Elysian watercolor hot press. This is the block. It's 100% cotton, and it's a nice bright white, which I like about this. I'll be playing with my 1-inch flat wash brush, this 3/4 inch it's a Grumbacher golden edge wash. It's an oval wash kind of brush, kind of like a filbert kind of brush. I like this one because it, the ferrule comes like a little shorter to the where it meets this part. The other oval wash is like something like this. It's a little longer and it's kind of flappy, and I don't like that. I want a little more control with something like this, playing around with this. So when you're doing something like this, you're just playing with color and moving the brushes around, and that's all we're going to be doing. So I'm going to grab my flat wash brush and just start mixing color. I'm going to just play with some browns and some grays in the beginning for the background, maybe add some blue. It has ultramarine blue, and then we'll start to just wash in some color. So I'm actually going to put some. So I'm just really getting this really loose. And I imagine, like, if you want to put a vase and not put a vase, or just put the color itself. So I'm just going to kind of go loose on this paper. I'm throwing in some gray now. See over here? Just getting really loose, grabbing the water, the gray, and a little bit of blue. You could even use a bigger brush. I might grab like a Hake brush that's bigger than this. It's a little small. And what's good about the block is that, will end up drying flat. It's a little more difficult when you have a non-block paper, when you're doing something this wet on a hot press, even cold press. So here I'm just going to filling it mostly around the sides and leaving the center not as wet. I'm adding some more color for depth. Going in here, getting a more brown. I'm adding some more ultramarine blue. So here you're just going to be playing around with adding that. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Just kind of throwing that color in. And it doesn't have to be the same colors as me. Get this looser again. That's a little too brown. I'll just take some of the color off, or I'll add some gray. Got a little happy with the burnt umber. So add more blue. Get more gray. Just throwing this color in. This part's a little shiny from the light. You get the point. Leaving a little white there. I can start to add a little color here. Now I'm going to envision myself having maybe I have a vase here. So I'm still using the flat wash brush, getting more ultramarine blue, mixing with some of that brown and some gray, playing around with just mixing all the color, period. And just picture like, oh, okay, maybe I have the vase here. So just a cylinder kind of shape, a little curve on the bottom, maybe a little curve on top. Put some color in here. And we're going to play around with some gouache also. So it's good to have some white gouache in your repertoire of things. Just going to leave that for now. I can add some darker colors just by using the side of my brush. Mixing all those colors I just talked about. It's still very wet, so it could bleed a little bit, but it doesn't really bleed that much. Kind of like sits on top. Hot press sits on top. Getting there. Just kind of a loose kind of floral, I would call it a sketch in a way. So what's good about the gouache, I'm going to grab some gouache. You can always use that for highlights and whatnot. See, I'm just going to loosen it up a little bit. And you grab that in here for the highlights. I'll go back and have some blue. Mix in. Like I said, this is not like this perfect vase. We're having fun here. We're not going to really worry about too much how, like, if it's perfect or not. We're going to play around with that. And now I'm going to start to mix up some greens, stems. There's some peacock blue. Grab some yellow. Peacock blue. Get this a little wet. It's a little too dry. Put some burnt umber in there too. Playing around with it. Prussian blue. All the colors. The stem would go in the vase. If you wanted to be clear glass, you can color it completely, but you just kind of get the motion of like how the stem would go. And here is another stem. And then from the stem, we can create the flower. So it's just kind of movement. And have some stems up here and some leaves. So how I do leaves, I kind of push down and twist out. Now I haven't figured out the flower yet. I'm just still kind of playing. This is the fun of it all. I'll clean off my brush. I don't even know if I necessarily need to use the oval brush, but I'm going to play around with it. Now I'm going to grab some more blues and some grays. And just take some gray itself, less blue. Start to move it around like a rose. So a circular kind of twisting motion. Kind of over here too, get the gray. Water this down. See, kind of twist. I'm moving that green. Grabbing the tip of my brush. This constant, like, fast movement of twisting it. Look at that. My brush is kind of doing a separation thing, which I kind of don't like. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. It's annoying. It's still very wet, and going back in while it's damp and adding in some more. Well, that's a little too dark. Kind of remove it. You can kind of remove paint too if you want to. See how I'm lifting that up? We've talked about this so many times on my channel, lifting the paint. We've created that really pretty flower. You can grab a little yellow brown in the center there. Cleaned off my brush again. Going back in. It could be a blue rose. Putting a little blue. Why not? Blue flower. Same thing with this one. Do this twisty kind of motion. It's very damp. And then for other ones, we can just do this kind of like if you want to making like almost like a delphinium or I don't know, just kind of like a hydrangea. I'm just kind of pushing down on the brush and going outward like this. leaving some space, right? Just pushing down, going up, kind of like a triangle space, kind of like in a triangle. So I'm mixing Prussian blue and peacock blue, excuse me, Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, little burnt Paynes gray, getting all those colors in there. So you're just kind of tapping that dark blue kind of color tone in there. And maybe I'll use the blue darker color kind of here. Play around with this, just pushing down create some petals. Little dash ones, little bigger ones. Boom. Just created a flower right there. I love this. This is ending up becoming like more of a blue tone kind of situation here, but hey, who knows, right? Putting this flower underneath this leaf. I feel like we needed one over in here. And you know, with the gouache, if you mix it with your color, you can just paint right over some of this stuff. That's why I say get that gouache. Mix it in with your color. Gonna add some gray. I'll add more white because it's opaque. You can play around with adding more color to that. So here I've added that big flower in there. Getting there. I mean, maybe I made the vase a little too big in hindsight. Make yours a little smaller. You can start to play around the vase more. And this side, brown, blue, gray. Oops. I want to grab some of my paper towel. Kind of move that. A little side shadow. Grabbing a little gray. It's splitting, so it's not making this flat wash, which is kind of annoying me, but whatever. So we're still getting those nice bright colors. I'm going to add a little bit deeper colors with the gray and the blue and the brown. Kind of going in here on this side. Just little taps. See how I just kind of tippy tap some of that area? Just kind of has that nice shadow effect in here. Kind of push some of it down. It's a little bit darker. And you have that brightness in here. I do want to add a little more like water, so it would be in water, right? So I take some of that ultramarine blue, mix it with some gray and brown, so the flowers would be in water. See how I just washed over that? You can add a little more. And then you can highlight with my white gouache when it's a little drier, like here. The gouache is great for like little highlights. I tend to want to do them at the end. Okay. Let's get back to some, oops, I got my gouache and my green. Some of the greens. You can switch to if you want to switch to a pointier brush. Grab some yellow, mixing up these weird kind of greens. Got the peacock and the candlestick. Just mix up whatever greens work for you. I mix a whole bunch of combos. I do want to make the background a little bit darker on this side, so I'm going to play around with some of that colors. It's very green still. Brown, Paynes gray, blue. Right over all this. That's why it's good to have a block when you're doing super wet like this. Kind of indicate like a table here going across also. Just a nice soft painting. And hot press is like a different kind of paper, and I really enjoy painting with it. Okay, going back to my blues. I made a mess over here. Gonna pick up some more green. I can just combine all that fun brown with this green and see what we've got. Just doing a little twist for my greens. It's just a twisting motion. Add out some leaves here. They'll blend in that nice little wet on wet. Got a little Prussian in there. Brown. Put one down in front. I'm gonna get some bright green in there too, because that little green would have like a highlight. And here I'm just gonna twist and add some more green. Bright. So we just got some blues kind of flanking everywhere. And then, whoops. I do want to put some stem, maybe some grays, kind of going up here. And you can use the same brush. I didn't switch, so I'm going to use more Paynes gray. Just push down like we did with the blue. And then try and fix your side of it and have a nice little skinny stem. So there's like some gray foliage going there. If you want to go ahead and grab a smaller brush and do that, but really I just want to teach you how you can just use one flat brush. The oval brush too. You can use, I didn't use the oval brush. I used the flat wash brush. I did mention I was going to use it, so let's use it. Let's put some more of this gray foliage. So you have the edge here, and then you have the flat part. It kind of makes perfect little petals and leaves. Go back to my blue flower. Twisting, pushing down, twisting, pushing. Like a rose. Pushing, twisting. Little couple ones on the outside. Yeah. Grabbing that blue, ultramarine blue, and the Paynes gray. That combination is one of my favorites. I'm just kind of twisting. It has like, it's separating again, so that it can kind of create these beautiful little lines. You can see those little lines that come out. I'm barely using any water on this, and then it gets a little darker, see? Now I'm going to grab a little water, just a teeny bit on the brush, just to move that paint around. And it'll get really dark in here, right? I'm going to go grab some white gouache and go right over that. And there's a flower in here. And we can put some little ditzy ones. I'm going to put some little ditzy, see, little simple petals, just by holding it on its side. Flowers. Grab some green right on that brush. Put some leaves, pushing it on its side. Fun, right? All right, so now we're going to grab that gouache. Clean up the brush good. I'm using the oval brush. But just one tube of white gouache with some of your watercolors is all you need. Twisting, twisting, pushing. Play around with that. Create some really great stuff. Some highlights on this one. Sometimes I never know if it's going to come out good or bad, but you just keep practicing. Look at that. You can even make these a little more white instead of blue, just by pushing on the side, twisting, pushing. Maybe grab that big brush instead of doing what I'm doing. But yeah, adding a little white. Just changed that whole flower, didn't it? Gonna add some up here. And if you add less, you know, if it's more water in it, it becomes more translucent. Less water, you get that opaque white, you know, either or. I'm gonna grab some ultramarine blue. It's actually still have some of that white on my brush, so it's gonna make it a little more opaque. Now, it's not making the same pretty roundish blooms, more ditzy by twisting and tapping because it's separated. So I might have to grab my flat wash brush. But I'm gonna put some little ditzy ones up here. All right, it's a flat wash. So I'm going to go back in here with my base, grabbing the blue and the gray, getting a little more strategic with my lines now. There would be one kind of out here in the back. It's doing this major separation. I'm trying to get it flattened again. I want it soft. So I'm just taking the edge of the brush, and that's how I do this. And you just keep playing around with that. And then here I go again, grabbing the browns and the colors to make that shadow. The vase creates. The light is kind of messing up that, and you can see that. It's very shiny. Now this wouldn't be very shiny in here, so we have to really kind of fix that. It just wouldn't. I'm going to add some white shine there. And getting a little more with the brown table. There's so much green over here. I got to lift up some of this green. Blue, brown, gray. More green. Kind of under the vase and then off to the side. Oops. Maybe I should edit it out, but I won't. I'm just going to soften a little bit. All right, I'm going to go back to that gouache. God, this brush is... I'm going to grab another flat wash brush because it just keeps separating. But just grab another brush if you have a flat wash brush. I'll clean it, let it dry a little bit. Grabbing my 3/4 inch. And you can do that nice opaque highlight on the glass. Do some little ditzy dots here. This one's doing the separation thing too. God, it's one of those days, I think. Just keep playing. That's the name of the game. All right, I don't want to overwork my vase too much. And I do want to change up on my flowers. I mean, my leaves a little bit. Going in and adding some deep depth, darker color in between some of these. But I want to keep it nice and soft. So I think that's going to be it. I might add a teeny bit. It's got so much pigment on here. Turning everything green. I can get rid of the blue. So for the center of the rose, maybe a little yellow with some burnt umber. There's the yellow. Just tap in a little burnt umber in the center of these flowers. And then she is done. You know, hindsight, I'm gonna, this little side of shading is bothering me. It has a super line and I don't want a line. I want a soft edge. So I'll play around with that a little bit. I have so many colors mixed in here, it's kind of making a mess, but best to kind of wait till it's dry and then go back in and add that. That's good enough for now. And that's how I would go about just doing like a simple vase. Now you might say, oh my God, Ellen, that's so hard. I mean, But see, just twisting, twisting, pushing, pulling. Play with some not bad, cheap paper. I'm gonna go put a little highlight on this side. And then you'll get, better at it. Highlight. That's all it takes. Just a little twisting, pushing, pulling, all that fun stuff. Right here it seems so bright. I'm gonna have to fix that. Doesn't it? The glass base seems so bright. Shouldn't be that bright. There we go. Fix that. See? Twist, pull, twist and pull, moving around, and you have a beautiful, design. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Play around with flat wash brushes and the Holbein brushes, twisting and pulling. This whole movement creates that leaf. And all I did was tap, 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 tap down for these ones up here. And again, it's just the circle motion. Twist, leave a space, twist, leave a space, twist, leave a space, twist, leave a space. These are all the things I can show people in demonstrations in my workshops. And it's easy to see it right in front of your face. And then I can physically show you also. But this is my demo I can do online. So I hope you enjoyed it, and play around with flat wash brush, oval brush, hot press paper. Do some do a wash in the background, and then go ahead and just throw in a vase and some flowers. So hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. If you're gonna watch the Super Bowl, enjoy that Super Bowl. If you're a Patreon member, check out the Patreon on Monday. There's a big announcement of the next retreat that I'm going to be hosting in end of October. And if you're not a Patreon member, consider joining, because like I said, I have longer videos over there, traceables, reference photos, live stream in the top tier, all that good stuff. And you get first dibs on retreats and watercolor workshops. And then if it gets sold out, then it doesn't go to public. If it doesn't, it goes public. So it's just a place people go and support my channel, which I really, really appreciate. You guys are awesome. Have a fantastic weekend. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.